Welcome to the Deep Dive, your essential intelligence briefing.
We're glad you could join us.
Over the past couple of weeks, the global landscape it's been defined by speed, by tension, and by some really staggering ambition.
Especially in the realm of space exploration, we've seen these simultaneous leaps forward.
And at the same time, some critical operational setbacks that are truly reshaping national timelines.
Today, we're going to focus squarely on that escalating commercial space race right here in the United States. We'll be analyzing how these volatile shifts are directly influencing NASA's mission to return to the moon.
And we'll also explore the geopolitical maneuvers happening alongside this by other major space powers. Our purpose, as always, is to extract the signal from the noise.
To give you factual, unbiased insight into the main patterns and their impacts at every level, local, national, and international.
This deep dive is generated by Stylo News, the AI-powered news application, and is brought to you by ProWave AI, utilizing rapid multidimensional intelligence synthesis.
Okay, let's start at the beginning of this intense period. And that really means unpacking the emergence of a new, formidable competitor in the reusable launch market.
You're talking about Blue Origin.
Exactly. Blue Origin.
They achieved what you could only call a watershed moment on November 13th, 2025. It was the successful second orbital launch of their heavy-lift New Glenn rocket, right from Cape Canaveral. And this wasn't just another launch.
No, it was a major statement about their technological maturity. And what's fascinating is the complexity of the mission itself. New Glenn successfully deployed NASA's Twin Escapade spacecraft.
And to be clear for you listening, these are two small but very important spacecraft.
That's right. They're heading to Mars to study the planet's climate history, and that requires an incredibly precise deployment into a trans-Mars trajectory.
So that's a significant scientific achievement on its own.
It is, but the truly historic feat, the thing that really resets the competitive landscape, was the booster recovery.
On only its second orbital attempt, Blue Origin landed that reusable first-stage booster on its floating platform in the Atlantic.
Which is just monumental. To put that into perspective for you, perfecting reusable landings has historically taken other programs dozens of flights.
And multiple explosive failures along the way. To get it right on the second try is a massive acceleration.
It absolutely is, and it underscores the fundamental tension here, doesn't it? This success instantly positions Blue Origin not just as an aspiring player, but as a direct, capable competitor.
A senior aerospace executive, George Nield, he even described the launch as a major confidence booster for them.
And you can see why. The impacts are immediate. Locally, in Florida, around Cape Canaveral, this success just revitalizes the aerospace industry there.
It signals that these advanced maritime recovery capabilities are now fully operational.
Which reinforces the region as a premier launch hub and, of course, drives new job creation.
And what about nationally?
Well, the implications are just as significant. The CEO of Blue Origin, Dave Wimp, he emphasized how important that booster recovery is. He said it's essential for cost-effective, repeatable missions.
And that's the key, isn't it? Repeatable access to space.
It is. It's critical for future government programs, for the Department of Defense, and of course for NASA's Artemis program. This success provides the diversification that the national space strategy really needs.
That successful introduction of a new competitor sets up this contrasting and almost paradoxical narrative with the established leader, SpaceX.
It does. You're watching two things happen at once: undisputed dominance and significant developmental delay playing out side by side.
Let's start with dominance. I mean, SpaceX is operating at a tempo that is just unmatched globally.
Unmatched. In 2025 alone, they set a new record with over 100 orbital launches from Florida's Space Coast. They also just crossed their 500th orbital mission using reusable Falcon 9 rockets.
And they're not slowing down. Just last week, they launched another 28 Starlink V2 minis from Vandenberg. So their ability to deliver payloads reliably is, it's an essential national resource.
It is. And that operational success is what makes the developmental hurdles for Starship so much more impactful.
You're talking about the incident with Super Heavy Booster 18.
That's right. The Starship version 3 prototype. It suffered a catastrophic anomaly, basically an explosion, during propellant loading or cryogenic testing down at Starbase in Texas.
And it's important for you to understand what that kind of test means.
Yes. A cryogenic pressure test involves filling the booster with super cold fuels and pressurizing the tanks way beyond their expected flight limits.
The idea is to verify the structural integrity.
Exactly. So a failure at this stage, on a V3 prototype no less, suggests There might be some fundamental material or design challenges that have to be completely solved before it can fly safely.
And that one technical challenge has monumental consequences for the national strategy.
It does. That setback means the 12th integrated flight test of Starship is now pushed to at least the second quarter of 2026.
And this is where a commercial schedule directly collides with government planning.
Precisely. If we connect the dots, the delay in Starship, which is the designated human landing system for Artemis III, has forced NASA to revise its internal plans.
And those documents now show that the earliest crewed lunar landing for Artemis III could be postponed.
Postponed from mid-2027 to as late as September 2028. We're talking about a potential 18-month slip because of one critical system failure.
It's the ultimate paradox. The company is setting records weekly, but at the same time suffering setbacks that could delay a top national priority by over a year.
And that raises serious questions about risk. The acting NASA administrator, Sean Duffy, he expressed significant concern over these delays.
He stressed the urgency of maintaining U.S. leadership against international competitors.
And, this uncertainty is creating opportunities that Blue Origin is moving very quickly to exploit.
Right. They announced they're developing the New Glenn 9x4, a super heavy lift variant.
It boasts over 70 metric tons capacity to low Earth orbit. And that number is significant because it's explicitly designed to target high-value national security payloads and orbital refueling depots.
Directly challenging Starship's intended market.
Exactly. In fact, NASA is already moving to diversify its options. Because of all this uncertainty, the agency is reevaluating or possibly even reopening the Artemis III lunar lander contract.
Which is a strategic pivot that could directly benefit Blue Origin's Blue Moon Lander project.
It's a clear example of the government leveraging this new commercial competition to drive innovation and, maybe more importantly, reduce its reliance on a single provider for such a critical mission.
And while this internal U.S. battle is playing out, the view from abroad shows the global landscape is changing even faster.
Let's shift our focus there to how global powers are positioning themselves, and we can start with Europe.
We're seeing some massive strategic commitments from the European Space Agency, or ESA.
A record-breaking budget. They secured $22.1 billion for their 2026 to 2028 programs. That is a monumental investment from its member states.
And the strategic thinking behind this investment is profound. It's directly related to the U.S. dominance we were just talking about.
It is. Europe lost its guaranteed access to space when they stopped relying on Russian Soyuz rockets, and their own next-generation rocket, Ariane 6, has had its own internal delays.
So this new budget is aimed squarely at achieving what they call strategic autonomy.
A core part of that is the European Resilience from Space program. It's a $1.35 billion initiative designed to boost their autonomy and security, both civilian and military.
And that includes crucial funding for Europe's first indigenous reusable rocket.
A direct response to the market disruption from SpaceX. They simply cannot afford to be reliant on U.S. contractors forever.
What's also strengthening Europe's position, though, is their deepening collaboration with NASA.
Yes, European astronauts, including one from Germany, are now scheduled to fly on Artemis missions Artemis II in 2026, Artemis IV in 2028. That solidifies Europe's role in the human return to the moon.
And moving eastward, several emerging Asian space powers are making their own significant strides.
South Korea just successfully launched its indigenous Nuri rocket for the 4th time. This marks a very deliberate transition toward commercial spaceflight, with a private company, Hanwha Aerospace, taking the lead.
And similarly in India, they're preparing for the maiden commercial flight of their first private PSLV rocket.
It's a major privatization push that will boost their domestic aerospace economy.
Meanwhile, China continues its very methodical state-level approach. They're preparing for their Shenzhou 22 mission, their emergency backup, and also the first flight of their reusable Dream Chaser spacecraft.
A 7-seat vehicle. All of this is positioning them for their stated goal of crewed lunar missions by 2030. They aren't dependent on commercial breakthroughs or failures.
No, they're working to a central plan.
And this global acceleration brings us back closer to home, to some of the geopolitical flashpoints that arise from this kind of rapid expansion.
Right. North American security and environmental concerns have started to emerge.
On the diplomatic front, tensions flared between the U.S. and Mexico. President Claudia Sheinbaum very firmly rejected U.S. proposals for military strikes against cartels on Mexican soil,
emphasizing national sovereignty.
And this existing tension was then compounded by a clear environmental incident. Diplomatic concerns arose after SpaceX launched debris
from their frequent launch pace.
Exactly. It contaminated Playa Baghdad in Tamaulipas, Mexico. This has led to official calls for U.S. accountability and prompted NGO cleanup efforts in the area.
It's a crucial point for you to understand. This kind of high-frequency growth, while nationally beneficial, carries responsibilities that extend far beyond the launch pad.
Which brings us to our final segment. Let's analyze the overall sentiment from our sources and identify what you should be watching for in the near future.
Looking at the source material, there's a broad, common viewpoint that this intense competition between Blue Origin and SpaceX is, on balance, highly beneficial.
Yes, both nationally and internationally. Sources like The Motley Fool and Space Daily really emphasize Blue Origin's milestone as a positive challenge to SpaceX's dominance.
Driving innovation, cost reduction, and that crucial diversification we mentioned.
But the contrasting sentiment focuses on reliability. We see clear concern from international partners, like Poland, who had satellite deployments delayed because of a recent SpaceX launch scrub.
And of course, NASA's worry over the Starship schedule remains the central national concern. It highlights the danger of a single-point failure in a critical program.
So in terms of strategic shifts, the industry isn't standing still. We can see several courses of action underway right now.
NASA, for one, is actively evaluating proposals from multiple companies, including both SpaceX and Blue Origin for lunar landers beyond Artemis III.
That's a very clear, proactive move by NASA to mitigate future risks from single provider dependency.
And the U.S. government is actively facilitating commercial growth. The Air Force approved environmental clearance for up to 76 Starship launches annually at Cape Canaveral by 2027.
Which signifies massive government faith in the long-term feasibility of the vehicle, despite these short-term delays.
So, based on all this, what should you be watching for in the coming weeks and months? We have several critical watch points.
First, the outcome of the Senate hearing for NASA Administrator nominee Jared Isaacman. That's scheduled for December 3rd. His appointment will significantly impact the agency's strategy.
Second, keep an eye on the rescheduled SpaceX Transporter 15 launch. It's expected soon, and it'll be a key indicator of their ability to quickly recover that high-cadence operation.
Third, monitor the continued progress of the Artemis II mission, the crewed lunar orbit mission. It's still targeting a 2026 launch, and it's a good barometer for the program's overall health.
And finally, pay very close attention to the Texas launch site, the Starship V3 ground testing, and the stacking of the next Super Heavy booster.
That's expected in late 2025 or early 2026. At the same time, Blue Origin's uncrewed Blue Moon lander launch is also scheduled for early 2026. Those commercial milestones will dictate the true pace of our return to the moon.
This deep dive into global intelligence was compiled using Stylo News. If you're looking for rapid, multidimensional intelligence synthesis, Stylo News is the platform designed to turn complex raw data into actionable intelligence in less than 60 seconds.
It's a powerful mobile and computer application that allows you to download and customize personal intelligence-style briefs. It pulls from hundreds of traditional news sources and social media feeds, including X.
It's really a shortcut to being well-informed.
We encourage you to subscribe to Stylo News, where you can get AI-powered news on demand. Just visit www.stylonews.com to learn more.
That concludes this edition of The Deep Dive. Thank you for joining us. We always welcome your requests for future topics, and please follow Stylo News on your favorite social media platforms.
As we close, consider this final thought. The U.S. model relies on high-frequency commercial iteration, with all its inherent risks, like the Starship explosion, to drive costs down. Can that iterative speed ultimately outpace the consistent, methodical state-level planning demonstrated by a competitor like China in the long race for lunar dominance? That strategic dynamic really remains the defining question of the decade.